The grand chamber of the Galactic Council pulsed with an ethereal luminescence, its sweeping architecture a testament to millennia of interstellar diplomacy. Holographic displays flickered with star charts and diplomatic protocols, casting prismatic reflections across the faces of assembled alien representatives. Each delegation occupied a precisely measured section of the circular platform, a careful choreography of political positioning that had been perfected over countless generations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the periphery, her presence almost an afterthought in this grand assembly. Humans were still considered newcomers, barely more than a curiosity in the vast political landscape of the galactic community. Her dark blue diplomatic suit, tailored with subtle precision, stood in stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments of other delegates, where they wore intricate robes woven with technological threads and adorned with cultural insignias. Her attire spoke of understated efficiency. The Zarkon representative, a towering crystalline being named Kreltax, dominated the central platform. His multifaceted body refracted light in complex patterns, each shift revealing intricate internal structures that served as both communication and emotional display. When he spoke, the translation systems hummed to life, converting his complex resonance communication into standard galactic language. The matter of territorial expansion requires careful consideration, Kreltax announced, his voice a melodic blend of harmonic tones. Emerging species must demonstrate both technological capability and cultural maturity before receiving full diplomatic recognition. Elena knew exactly what he meant. It was a thinly veiled critique of humanity's relatively recent entry into the galactic stage. Despite remarkable achievements in space exploration, faster-than-light communication, and adaptive terraforming technologies, humans were still viewed as inexperienced children among ancient civilizations. Her fingers brushed against the data chip concealed within a subtle pocket of her suit. The device contained information that would change everything, a discovery so profound that it would rewrite the fundamental understanding of physics and space travel. But timing was everything. And this was not yet the moment to reveal humanity's greatest secret. Around her, delegates from 100 different worlds engaged in their intricate political dance. The Vexnar delegation from the Spiral Arm colonies argued about resource allocation with the Quantum Concordance representatives. Holographic negotiations played out in multiple languages, with translation algorithms working overtime to maintain the delicate balance of interstellar diplomacy. A young human diplomatic aide approached Elena, his movements carefully measured to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. "Dr. Rodriguez," he whispered, "the preliminary reports from the research team have just arrived. They've confirmed the last set of quantum stability tests." She nodded almost imperceptibly, her years of diplomatic training preventing any visible sign of excitement. The breakthrough they had been working toward for decades was closer than ever. Humanity's understanding of dark matter had progressed far beyond what any other civilization could imagine, but revealing that would require perfect strategy. The Galactic Council's annual symposium was more than a diplomatic gathering. It was a complex ecosystem of power, knowledge, and potential. Species rose and fell based on their ability to demonstrate technological and cultural innovation. Humans had been gradually proving their worth, but they had yet to make a truly transformative statement. Kreltax continued his verbose presentation, detailing proposed restrictions on emerging species' territorial claims. His crystalline body shifted colors as he spoke, a biological indicator of rhetorical confidence. The other delegates listened with varying degrees of attention, some actively engaging with holographic data streams, others displaying subtle signs of diplomatic fatigue. Elena's mind raced with possibilities. The dark matter research project represented years of collaborative effort from humanity's most brilliant minds. Physicists, engineers, quantum theorists, and computational specialists had worked in near-total secrecy, pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding. As the diplomatic session continued, she remained calm and observant. To the other delegates, she was just another representative from an emerging species. They had no idea that the unassuming human standing quietly at the edge of the chamber was about to change everything they understood about the universe. The data chip felt warm against her skin, a silent promise of the revolution to come. The research complex nestled within the icy mountains of Jupiter's moon Europa represented humanity's most ambitious scientific endeavor. From the outside, it appeared as nothing more than a series of interconnected geodesic domes, their surfaces blending seamlessly with the moon's stark, frozen landscape. But beneath the unassuming exterior lay the most advanced dark matter research facility in human history. Admiral Michael Chen stood before a massive holographic display, his weathered hands tracing quantum probability matrices that danced with impossible complexity. He had spent decades bridging the gap between military strategy and cutting-edge scientific research. Where other military leaders saw weapons, Chen saw potential, a fundamental difference that had defined humanity's approach to technological development. The research team was a carefully curated collection of the most brilliant minds from across human-controlled space. Theoretical physicists worked alongside quantum engineers. Computational experts collaborated with material scientists, each bringing a unique perspective to the seemingly impossible challenge of dark matter manipulation. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt, the project's lead quantum physicist, adjusted a series of holographic projections. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, splitting and recombining complex mathematical models that represented years of accumulated research. "We're closer than anyone realizes," she muttered, more to herself than to her colleagues. The history of dark matter research was a testament to human persistence. For centuries, other galactic civilizations had treated dark matter as an abstract concept, an interesting theoretical problem, but ultimately unknowable. Humanity approached it differently. Where others saw a barrier, humans saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. Funding for the project had been a constant challenge. Early stages relied on a combination of government research grants, private investment, and crowdsourced scientific initiatives. Tech entrepreneurs, academic institutions, and forward-thinking investors had gradually built a collaborative network that made the impossible seem within reach. Chen recalled the early days of the project. Initial proposals had been met with skepticism. Senior military strategists couldn't comprehend how research into an invisible, nearly undetectable form of matter could provide any practical advantage. But Chen and his team understood something fundamental. True innovation comes from looking beyond conventional wisdom. The holographic display shifted, revealing intricate simulations of dark matter interactions. What appeared to be random noise to an untrained eye was actually a carefully mapped network of quantum possibilities. Each projection represented thousands of computational hours, millions of tested scenarios, and countless failed attempts. "The breakthrough is in the quantum entanglement," Dr. Reinhardt explained to a junior researcher. Her eyes sparkled with the excitement of scientific discovery. "Every other civilization has approached dark matter as something to be observed. We're learning to interact with it." The research complex was more than a scientific facility. It was a microcosm of human potential, a place where interdisciplinary collaboration transformed theoretical impossibilities into tangible realities. Engineers worked alongside theoretical physicists. Computer scientists collaborated with material experts, each bringing a unique perspective to the challenge. Outside the research complex, Europa's surface stretched into an endless landscape of ice and darkness. The harsh environment served as a constant reminder of humanity's ability to survive and thrive in the most challenging conditions. This moon, once considered uninhabitable, now housed humanity's most revolutionary research project. Admiral Chen understood the broader implications. This wasn't just about scientific discovery or potential military applications. It was about proving humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. Other galactic civilizations approached challenges with rigid, specialized thinking. Humans brought creativity, adaptability, and an almost relentless optimism. A series of advanced quantum computers hummed softly in the background, processing computational models that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Each machine represented a breakthrough in computational technology, pushing the boundaries of what was thought achievable. Dr. Reinhardt's team had developed a new approach to quantum modeling that allowed them to simulate dark matter interactions with unprecedented accuracy. What had once been theoretical had become measurable, and what was measurable could be understood, and ultimately, manipulated. As the research team continued their work, they remained largely unaware of how close they were to fundamentally changing humanity's place in the galactic community. The data chip that Dr. Elena Rodriguez carried in the Galactic Council chambers was more than a diplomatic tool. It was a key, a glimpse into a future where humanity would no longer be overlooked. The potential was limitless, and they were just getting started. The research laboratory occupied a carefully constructed space deep beneath the icy surface of Europa's southern research complex. Layers of advanced shielding protected the most sensitive experiment in human history, a delicate dance of quantum mechanics that defied traditional understanding of physics. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt adjusted her neural interface, holographic displays blooming around her like electronic flowers. Years of research had culminated in this moment, a convergence of computational power, theoretical physics, and sheer human determination. The team had been working for months without a full night's sleep, fueled by synthetic nutrients, scientific passion, and the quiet belief that they were on the verge of something extraordinary. Quantum stabilization at 98.7%, announced Marcus Wong, the lead computational physicist. His fingers danced across multiple holographic interfaces, managing an impossibly complex network of quantum sensors and computational matrices. Each movement was a carefully calculated gesture, years of training distilled into precise scientific intervention. The dark matter containment field shimmered, not with light, but with an absence of light. It was a darkness so complete that it seemed to bend the very fabric of perception. Traditional sensors would have shown nothing, but the specialized equipment developed by the research team could perceive the subtle quantum interactions happening within. Dr. Reinhardt remembered the journey that brought them here. Decades of rejected proposals, limited funding, and constant skepticism from both scientific institutions and government agencies. Other research teams had abandoned dark matter studies as a theoretical dead end. But her team saw something different, a puzzle waiting to be solved, a fundamental mystery of the universe that humanity was uniquely positioned to unravel. The breakthrough had come from an unexpected combination of disciplines: a materials engineer's novel approach to quantum insulation, a theoretical physicist's radical reinterpretation of quantum entanglement, and a computational expert's revolutionary algorithm had converged in ways no one could have predicted. "Quantum coherence is holding," Marcus called out, his voice a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. The team had learned to temper their emotions, but this was different. They could feel the significance of the moment. The dark matter containment field began to respond in ways that defied current scientific understanding. Instead of behaving like a passive substance, it seemed to react, to think, almost. Subtle variations in the quantum field suggested something more than simple physical interaction. It was as if they were communicating with the fundamental fabric of the universe. Admiral Michael Chen watched from a secondary observation room, his decades of military strategic experience telling him that this was more than a scientific experiment. This was a moment that would reshape humanity's understanding of space, technology, and potentially their place in the galaxy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's diplomatic preparations suddenly seemed almost trivial compared to the scientific revolution unfolding before them. The data chip she carried was about to become the most important piece of information in human history. "Quantum resonance detected," Marcus announced, his voice cracking slightly. "We're maintaining coherence beyond previous theoretical limits." The team had developed a completely new approach to dark matter interaction. Where previous scientific efforts had tried to observe or contain dark matter, they were learning to communicate with it. The containment field was no longer just a research tool. It was becoming an interface, a bridge between known physics and something entirely new. Dr. Reinhardt's neural interface began to pulse with information that defied traditional computational models. Patterns emerged that suggested dark matter wasn't just a passive substance, It was a complex, responsive medium that could be understood and potentially manipulated. The implications were staggering. Traditional faster-than-light travel relied on complex warp technologies that pushed the boundaries of known physics. But this new understanding of dark matter suggested something more revolutionary: the potential to move beyond traditional space-time constraints entirely. Hours passed like minutes. The research team worked with a single-minded focus that bordered on collective meditation. Each breakthrough was carefully documented, each observation meticulously recorded. They understood they were witnessing something that would rewrite scientific understanding. As the final computational cycles completed, a profound silence fell over the laboratory. They had done it. Humanity had taken its first real step toward understanding dark matter, not as a mysterious substance to be observed, but as a potential medium to be understood and potentially controlled. The universe would never be the same. The Galactic Technology Symposium represented the pinnacle of interstellar scientific exchange. Held in the massive orbital complex circling the neutral world of New Geneva, the annual event drew representatives from thousands of advanced civilizations. Massive holographic displays filled the central chamber, each delegation showcasing their most recent technological achievements. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood backstage, her fingers tracing the delicate data chip that contained humanity's most closely guarded scientific breakthrough. The symposium's elaborate staging area buzzed with nervous energy. Technicians from dozens of different species prepared holographic interfaces, quantum projection systems, and advanced demonstration platforms. Most delegations followed a predictable pattern. They would present incremental improvements to existing technologies: a slightly more efficient energy transfer method, a marginal advancement in faster-than-light communication, or a minor breakthrough in computational processing. The presentations had become so routine that many delegates spent more time reviewing diplomatic messages than watching the demonstrations. Krell-Tax, the Zarkon representative, had already delivered a lengthy presentation about their civilization's latest quantum communication improvements. His crystalline form shifted colors as he spoke, a biological display of rhetorical confidence that most species found simultaneously impressive and intimidating. Elena's presentation was scheduled last, traditionally a slot reserved for the most junior or least significant delegations. Human representatives had grown accustomed to this positioning, understanding that their relatively recent entry into the galactic community meant limited visibility. Behind the scenes, a small team of human scientists made final preparations. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt adjusted a series of quantum interfaces, her movements precise and calculated. Admiral Michael Chen reviewed the demonstration protocols, his military background ensuring every detail was meticulously planned. The chamber fell silent as the human delegation was announced. Elena walked to the central platform, her movements deliberate and confident. She carried nothing but a small holographic projector, a stark contrast to the elaborate technological displays of other delegations. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice clear and steady. Today, I will demonstrate a breakthrough that will fundamentally change our understanding of space, matter, and technological potential. A holographic projector came to life, displaying what appeared to be nothing more than abstract quantum mathematical models. Most delegates began to look away, expecting another mundane presentation. Then something extraordinary happened. The holographic display began to shift. What had seemed like random mathematical patterns started to resolve into a three-dimensional representation of a spacecraft, unlike anything ever seen before. It wasn't just a design. It was a living, breathing concept that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple states of reality. The vessel appeared to phase in and out of traditional spacetime, its quantum structure defying everything known about material physics. Where traditional spacecraft designs relied on massive energy expenditures to overcome gravitational and dimensional constraints, this design seemed to simply ignore them. Delegates from the most advanced civilizations leaned forward, their previous disinterest replaced by complete attention. The ship wasn't just a technological concept. It was a fundamental reimagining of space travel. Dr. Reinhardt's voice overlaid the holographic display, explaining the scientific principles behind the design. Traditional faster-than-light travel involves massive energy expenditures to manipulate spacetime, she explained. Our approach instead allows the vessel to interact directly with dark matter quantum fields, essentially moving between dimensional states. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just an incremental improvement. It was a complete revolution in scientific understanding. Krelltax's crystalline body began to shift colors rapidly, a clear indication of extreme emotional response. The Zarkon delegation, which had consistently dismissed human technological capabilities, found themselves confronting a breakthrough that made their own advancements look primitive. As the demonstration continued, the holographic ship began to demonstrate capabilities that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It could instantaneously reposition itself, phase through theoretical dimensional barriers, and manipulate quantum fields in ways that seemed impossible. Elena Rodriguez stood calmly, allowing the demonstration to speak for itself. Years of diplomatic training had prepared her for this moment, a moment that would redefine humanity's place in the galactic community. The symposium had just changed everything. The auxiliary conference room buzzed with attention that bordered on electrical anticipation. After the initial demonstration, the most prominent scientific minds from across the galaxy had demanded, a more detailed explanation of humanity's breakthrough. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt stood before a holographic projection that seemed to breathe with quantum complexity. Her presentation materials represented decades of research, countless failed attempts, and a revolutionary approach to understanding the fundamental nature of matter and space. Dark matter has always been misunderstood, she began, her voice steady and confident. Previous scientific approaches treated it as an passive, unresponsive substance. We discovered it's actually a dynamic, interactive quantum medium. The assembled scientists represented civilizations thousands of years older than humanity. The Quantum Concordance delegation, known for their advanced theoretical physics, listened with a mixture of skepticism and growing intrigue. Representatives from the Vexnar research academies adjusted their sensory apparatuses, desperate to capture every nuance of the explanation. Dr. Reinhardt's holographic display began to illustrate the core of their breakthrough. Complex quantum mathematical models danced and transformed, showing how dark matter could be understood not as a static substance, but as a responsive, communicative quantum field. Traditional faster-than-light travel relies on massive energy expenditures to manipulate spacetime, she explained. Our approach is fundamentally different. Instead of fighting against dimensional constraints, we've learned to communicate with them. The key breakthrough had come from an unexpected combination of disciplines: a materials engineer's novel approach to quantum insulation, a theoretical physicist's radical reinterpretation of quantum entanglement, and a computational expert's revolutionary algorithm had converged in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Marcus Wong, the lead computational physicist, stepped forward to explain the computational aspects. We developed a completely new quantum modeling approach, he said. Our algorithms can now interpret dark matter interactions as a form of communication rather than a passive phenomenon. The holographic display shifted, showing increasingly complex interactions. What appeared to be random noise to an untrained eye was actually a carefully mapped network of quantum possibilities. Each projection represented thousands of computational hours, millions of tested scenarios, and countless failed attempts. One of the senior quantum concordance researchers raised a complex appendage, a gesture of scientific inquiry. How did you overcome the fundamental quantum uncertainty problem? The question carried years of accumulated scientific skepticism. Dr. Reinhardt smiled, a rare moment of human emotion in a strictly scientific presentation. We didn't overcome quantum uncertainty, she explained. We learned to work with it. Our computational models treat quantum uncertainty as a feature, not a bug. The explanation went far beyond a simple technological demonstration. It was a complete philosophical shift in understanding the nature of space, matter, and potential. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw opportunities for communication and interaction. Admiral Michael Chen watched from the side of the room. To the scientific delegates, this was a theoretical breakthrough. To him, it represented something more. A potential revolution in space exploration and defensive capabilities. The dark matter research had multiple groundbreaking implications. The ability to interact with quantum fields meant potentially revolutionizing transportation, communication, and energy production. A spacecraft designed with this technology could theoretically move between dimensional states, bypass traditional space-time constraints, and interact with the universe in ways previously thought impossible. Dr. Wang demonstrated a series of computational models that showed how their approach differed from previous scientific attempts, where traditional quantum modeling treated dark matter as a passive substance to be observed. Their approach suggested it could be a responsive, interactive medium. We're not just observing the universe, Dr. Reinhardt concluded. We're learning to communicate with its fundamental structures. The scientific delegates sat in stunned silence. Civilizations that had considered themselves technological leaders for millennia found themselves confronting a fundamental challenge to their understanding of physics. The Vexnar lead researcher finally spoke, her translation systems struggling to convey the complexity of her response. "This is not merely a technological breakthrough," she said. "This is a complete reimagining of scientific understanding." As the presentation concluded, it became clear that humanity had done more than make a scientific discovery. They had opened an entirely new way of understanding the universe, a perspective that challenged everything previously known about physics, space, and potential. The galaxy would never be the same. The news spread faster than light could travel. Within hours of the symposium's conclusion, quantum communication networks across the galaxy blazed with discussions of humanity's breakthrough. Research institutions, diplomatic channels, and scientific academies found themselves re-examining everything they thought they understood about physics, space travel, and technological potential. The Galactic Council's central communications hub became a nexus of frantic activity. Holographic displays flickered with urgent messages, translation algorithms working overtime to process the flood of communications from thousands of different civilizations. Where previous human technological presentations had been met with polite disinterest, this breakthrough demanded immediate and serious attention. Krell-Tax of the Zarkon Confederacy found himself in an unprecedented position. The crystalline diplomatic representative had built his entire career on dismissing human capabilities. Now he was forced to compile an official report explaining how a species they had consistently marginalized had made the most significant scientific breakthrough in galactic history. In research centers across multiple star systems, scientists began reviewing the publicly released data from the human presentation. What had seemed impossible just days before now demanded serious scientific investigation. The quantum modeling techniques developed by the human research team were unlike anything previously conceived. Dr. Elena Rodriguez received a continuous stream of diplomatic communications. Research institutions that had previously ignored human scientific proposals now sought collaborative agreements. Diplomatic missions from advanced civilizations began preparing for unprecedented levels of engagement. The breakthrough's implications extended far beyond theoretical physics. Transportation technologies, energy production, communication systems, every fundamental technological approach was now open to complete reimagining. Civilizations that had believed themselves to be at the pinnacle of scientific understanding found themselves suddenly obsolete. The Quantum Concordance, a collective of the most advanced scientific civilizations, called an emergency session. Their most senior researchers pored over the human presentation materials, attempting to understand the revolutionary approach to dark matter interaction. "This is more than a technological advancement," proclaimed the lead concordance researcher. "This represents a fundamental shift in scientific understanding." Research funding began to shift dramatically. Institutions that had long focused on traditional quantum research suddenly redirected resources to study the human approach. Entire academic departments were restructured, research priorities were re-examined, and collaborative proposals flooded human scientific institutions. Admiral Michael Chen understood the broader implications. This was not just a scientific breakthrough. It was a complete restructuring of galactic power dynamics. Technological superiority had always been the primary measure of a civilization's importance in the Galactic Council. Humanity had just rewritten that entire equation. The economic impact was immediate and profound. Space exploration companies began redesigning entire technological frameworks. Energy production corporations saw potential for completely new approaches to power generation. Communication networks explored the possibility of quantum interactions that could make current technologies seem primitive. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt found herself at the center of an unprecedented scientific storm. Interview requests came from research institutions across the galaxy. Her team's approach to dark matter research was being studied, dissected, and celebrated in ways they could never have imagined. The human research team became overnight scientific celebrities. Their unconventional approach, combining disciplines, challenging established theories, and maintaining an open-minded perspective, was now being studied as a model for scientific innovation. Diplomatic channels that had previously treated human representatives as junior partners now sought meaningful engagement. The Zarkon Confederacy, which had been most vocal about human limitations, found themselves in the most embarrassing position. Their own top scientific minds confirmed the validity of the dark matter technology and realized they were years, if not decades, behind. Trade restrictions began to dissolve. Colonial limitations that had been imposed on human expansion suddenly seemed short-sighted and obsolete. Diplomatic envoys from across the galaxy began seeking meetings with human scientific and political representatives. The breakthrough represented more than a technological achievement. It was a statement about human potential, a demonstration that innovation comes from challenging established thinking, maintaining curiosity, and approaching problems with a unique perspective. As the first wave of reactions settled, one thing became clear: the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity was no longer an emerging species to be overlooked. They were now a civilization that demanded serious attention, respect, and engagement. The universe would never be the same. The diplomatic reception hall of the Galactic Council complex gleamed with an otherworldly luminescence. Delegations from thousands of civilizations mingled, their conversations a complex symphony of translated languages and cultural nuances. At the center of it all stood Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now the most sought-after diplomatic representative in galactic history. Collaborative potential is our primary focus, Elena explained to a group of senior diplomatic representatives from the Vexnar Alliance. Her words carried the weight of humanity's newfound scientific credibility. Where previous interactions had been marked by polite dismissal, now every delegation leaned in with genuine interest. Diplomatic missions from across the galaxy competed to establish meaningful partnerships with human research institutions. The dark matter breakthrough had transformed humanity from a marginal species to a critical player in galactic scientific development. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt found herself at the center of an unprecedented scientific exchange program. Research teams from the Quantum Concordance, the Zarkon Confederacy, and dozens of other advanced civilizations requested collaborative research opportunities. What had once been closed doors now stood wide open. Admiral Michael Chen oversaw the diplomatic negotiations with a strategic eye. The military implications of the dark matter research were significant, but he understood that true power lay in collaboration, not confrontation. Humanity's approach would be one of open scientific exchange, sharing knowledge that could benefit entire galactic communities. The first joint research facility was established in neutral space, a massive orbital complex that represented an unprecedented level of scientific cooperation. Human researchers worked alongside scientists from civilizations that had, mere months ago, viewed them with barely concealed condescension. Dr. Marcus Wong led a series of collaborative workshops, explaining the computational approach that had made the dark matter breakthrough possible. Innovation comes from breaking down barriers, he would say, demonstrating how interdisciplinary thinking could solve seemingly impossible challenges. The economic impact was profound. Space exploration companies that had previously been limited by traditional technological constraints now saw unlimited potential. Energy production, communication technologies, transportation systems, every fundamental approach to technology was being reimagined. Kreltax, the Zarkon representative who had once dismissed humanity, now found himself leading a diplomatic mission to establish deeper scientific partnerships. The crystalline diplomat's previous arrogance had been replaced by a genuine sense of scientific curiosity. Educational exchanges became a critical component of the new diplomatic landscape. Young scientists from across the galaxy sought positions in human research institutions, eager to understand the innovative approach that had transformed scientific understanding. The research complex on Yurava became a pilgrimage site for scientific delegations. Where it had once been a marginalized research facility, it was now considered the most important scientific center in known space. Tours were carefully managed, with each delegation getting a glimpse of the innovative environment that had produced the dark matter breakthrough. Funding for scientific research exploded. Institutions that had previously been limited by conservative approaches now embraced radical innovation. The human model of interdisciplinary collaboration became a blueprint for scientific development across multiple civilizations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself navigating a complex diplomatic landscape. Each meeting represented an opportunity to showcase humanity's commitment to collaborative scientific progress. The dark matter breakthrough was not just a technological achievement. It was a statement about human potential. The Galactic Council began to restructure its own organizational approach. The breakthrough had exposed fundamental limitations in how scientific research had been conducted for millennia. Committees were formed, research protocols were re-examined, and a new era of scientific collaboration began to take shape. Cultural exchanges accompanied the scientific partnerships. Human art, literature, and philosophical approaches became subjects of intense study. Other civilizations sought to understand the unique perspective that had led to such a revolutionary scientific discovery. Admiral Chen reflected on the transformation. Humanity had achieved something remarkable, not through military might or aggressive expansion, but through scientific curiosity, collaborative spirit, and an unwavering belief in human potential. As the first joint research vessels prepared for their maiden voyages, it became clear that the galaxy had entered a new era. Humanity was no longer an emerging species to be overlooked. They were now a critical partner in galactic scientific and diplomatic development. The universe had changed, and humanity was just getting started. The first dark matter research vessel, the UES Horizon, prepared for its maiden voyage from the advanced orbital shipyards above Jupiter's lunar system. It was more than just a spacecraft. It was a symbol of humanity's potential, a living testament to scientific innovation that had transformed the galaxy's understanding of physics and exploration. Dr. Kamala Reinhardt stood on the central observation deck, her eyes tracing the vessel's revolutionary design. The ship seemed to shimmer at the edges, its quantum structure defying traditional understanding of material existence. Where conventional spacecraft were bound by rigid structural limitations, the Horizon appeared to breathe, existing simultaneously across multiple dimensional states. Admiral Michael Chen reviewed the final mission parameters. This wasn't just a scientific expedition. It was a diplomatic statement, a demonstration of humanity's commitment to collaborative exploration. The crew represented the most diverse team ever assembled. Scientists, diplomats, and explorers from multiple human colonies, and, remarkably, representatives from 7 different galactic civilizations. The launch ceremony brought together diplomatic representatives from across known space. The Quantum Concordance, the Vexnar Alliance, and even the previously dismissive Zarkon Confederacy watched with a mixture of scientific curiosity and diplomatic anticipation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez managed the diplomatic complexities with her characteristic precision. Each detail of the mission had been carefully negotiated, each potential interaction meticulously planned. The Horizon represented more than a technological achievement. It was a bridge between civilizations. The ship's quantum drive was a marvel of interdisciplinary collaboration. Computational models developed by human researchers combined with material science techniques from the Vexenar, quantum stabilization approaches from the quantum concordance, and energy management systems from 3 other advanced civilizations. Launch preparations proceeded with a calm that belied the mission's revolutionary nature. Mission control buzzed with a quiet excitement. Years of research, decades of scientific innovation, and centuries of human exploration were converging in this moment. Quantum field stabilization at optimal levels, reported Dr. Marcus Wong, monitoring the ship's complex systems. The computational interfaces seemed to dance with possibility, showing potential trajectories that would have been considered impossible just months earlier. The mission's primary objective went beyond simple exploration. They would be testing the boundaries of dark matter interaction, pushing the limits of scientific understanding. Potential destinations included regions of space that had previously been considered unreachable, dimensional boundaries, quantum flux zones, and areas of space-time that defied traditional navigational approaches. Crew members represented the best of human collaborative potential. Scientists worked alongside diplomats. Engineers collaborated with cultural experts. The mission embodied a fundamental approach that had defined humanity's most significant achievements, the ability to bring different perspectives together, to see potential where others saw barriers. As the countdown began, the assembled diplomatic representatives watched with collective anticipation. The Zarkon representative, whose crystalline form had once dismissed human potential, now stood with a sense of genuine scientific curiosity. Launch sequence initiated, announced the primary navigation system. The horizon began to interact with its quantum environment, its very existence challenging fundamental understanding of space and matter. The ship didn't so much launch as it seemed to emerge, phasing into existence across multiple dimensional states. Traditional propulsion systems were replaced by a quantum interaction that allowed the vessel to essentially communicate with the fabric of space itself. Mission control fell silent. Traditional tracking systems struggled to maintain a lock on the vessel. The horizon was moving in ways that defied conventional understanding, not traveling through space, but negotiating with it, finding pathways that existed between known dimensional states. Dr. Reinhardt watched the quantum tracking displays, her breath catching as the first data streams began to return. Each transmission represented a fundamental expansion of scientific knowledge. They were not just exploring space. They were rewriting the very understanding of exploration. The diplomatic implications were profound. This mission represented more than a scientific expedition. It was a statement about human potential, about the power of collaborative innovation, about seeing potential where others saw limitation. As the horizon disappeared from traditional tracking systems, one thing became clear. Humanity had changed the fundamental understanding of exploration. They had not conquered space. They had learned to communicate with it. The universe was no longer a challenge to be overcome. It was a conversation waiting to happen.